It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Having appeared in comic books for nearly 100 years, Batman has amassed one of the most impressive rogues galleries in fiction. Some are ordinary mobsters, some are thieves, some are mentally deranged, some are superpowered, some are mass murderers. Some are all of the above. But the best of these bad guys are incredibly iconic, having jumped from comic pages to television, movies, video games, and more. So join us as the great pop culture debate dives into the seedy underbelly of Gotham City to determine the best Batman villain. I have been accused of being two-faced. I just wish one of them was pretty. I'm your host, Eric Resniak. Please help me welcome my panel of vigilantes for this episode. First up, he'll break your back, and you're going to love it. It's Kevin Dillon.
I am a bottom's reckoning.
Kevin, you put the mask in Mask for Mask. Next, like Poison Ivy, you'll get a reaction if you rub up against him. It's Michael Schwarz.
Oh, don't worry, Eric. I've got a shot of penicillin for that.
Well, remember, leaves of 3, let it be. Leaves of 4, you're a whore.
I feel seen.
And finally, we have a special guest Caped Crusader for this episode. Please welcome Jordan Morris, podcaster and Eisner-nominated writer, whose new graphic novel Youth Group is available for pre-order now. Welcome, Jordan.
I firmly believe that we do indeed live in a society.
Why so serious, Jordan? And up in the producer booth, we have Bob Erlenbach, who is going to whip us into shape like Selena Kyle. Curious about how we narrowed it down to these 16 villains? Check out the primer available on your podcast platform of choice. Make sure you head to greatpopculturedebate.com so you can find the downloadable listener bracket for this and every episode so you can make your own picks and play along with us at home. And with that out of the way, the inmates have once again broken out of Arkham Asylum, and we're going to get into these debates. First up, it's a unanimous victory for ultimate number 1 seed Joker as the Crown Prince of Crime clipped the wings of 4-seed Man-Bat. Would anyone like to say anything about the erstwhile Dr. Kirk Landstrom before he flees our belfry? I will say that I feel like the best Man-Bat stories came from the animated series. He did join Justice League Dark in the DC Comics fairly recently, but he's not a character that I feel has had a particular impact in the Batman universe. Anyone disagree with that? Jordan?
You know, I like his side quests in the Arkham video games. So if the nicest thing you can say about someone is they make a pretty good side quest, maybe they could get kicked out of the bracket.
I agree with that. And that's a great point to point out. We are looking at, in my opinion, any form of Batman media when I'm talking about these villains. It can be the comic books, the TV shows, the video games, the movies. It's all
my erotic fan fiction.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, please send me any of your Man-Bat erotic fan fiction.
I was going to say, is Man-Bat my side piece in that erotic fiction? I'm on pins and needles wondering.
I do custom pieces. So if anybody,
there you go. Excellent. Interested. Perfect. So we will be moving Man-Bat out, but Joker will continue into round 2. Next, the panel is equally divided over 3-seed Ra's al Ghul and 2-seed Harley Quinn. Jordan, tell us why it would be suicide for our squad to hammer Harley out of the bracket so early. Kevin, bathe in the Lazarus pit and make sure Ra's al Ghul's chances in this debate are reborn. Kevin, please go first.
This is a tough one, and I understand why folks are voting for Harley Quinn. However, and I will start my argument this way, I do not think of Harley Quinn as a villain for Batman. I think of Joker as her ultimate villain, and that is why ultimately I moved forward with Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul is canonically, I think, actively the smartest antagonist for Batman when it comes to actual sociopathy mixed with the things that he does. His plans are more methodical. He has, I don't like to compare it to Thanos, but a Thanos-like perspective on humanity. His goal is to create time and space where his League of Assassins can essentially create a world that is grounded in a better grasp for humanity. He is one of the villains who knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman and has not revealed it for the sole purpose of challenging him to eventually try to take over the League of Assassins. He let out all of the villains from Arkham Asylum and the Sanitary to prove that Batman was essentially creating time and space for these villains to exist, and created one of the craziest situations that Bruce has had to encounter. And at the core, he is at a lot of the crux of what ultimately ends up happening to Bruce Wayne and Batman with his villainy. And so as a mastermind, he is tackling all of this. And that's why I moved him forward.
Oh, wait. Bruce Wayne is Batman? This is news to me.
What? Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert. Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
He's just a millionaire playboy. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Jordan, talk to us about Harley Quinn, please.
Okay, so Harley Quinn, she's done so many amazing things. Look what she's done for the Halloween costume industry.
Oh my God,
right?
yeah, right?
I mean, so many Spirit Halloweens would have gone out of business if they weren't moving thousands and thousands of Harley Quinn costumes every Halloween. Yeah, she's iconic. She started in the Batman animated series, which is like, again, I think as we've mentioned perhaps on the Patreon, that is so many people's entry into Batman, and she's the coolest character from that. And I just love that she's taken on such a life of her own. She is an anti-hero, which I think a lot of great Batman villains are. Yeah, she can play both sides. I think that's awesome. I think her relationship with Poison Ivy in not only the comics, but in the Great Harley Quinn TV series over there on HBO Max, that has been such an interesting, fun wrinkle. They're a great power couple. I love all of the stories they do with the two of them. And she's funny. I think a great Batman villain should be kind of funny, because Batman can be so self-serious. And I think Harley's comedy and her chaos, I don't know. I think she's such a great foil for Batman, and I don't know, one of the coolest characters of all time. How many Ra's al Ghul back tattoos do you see? Basically zero. Oh, well, okay. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of one now. And Harley Quinn, come on. I think a great villain makes a great tramp stamp.
Absolutely. And just a great tramp. Michael Schwartz, where are you on this one?
I think they both make really good arguments, but in the end, it kind of boils down to is like Harley Quinn is your entertaining Batman villain. She's all that kind of stuff, but Ra's al Ghul is really your thinking man's Batman villain kind of stuff. And I think that while recently Harley's had a bigger impact on popular culture, I think for all time, though, that Ra's al Ghul is really the villain that you worry more about. Then in because you know that there's a plot within a plot within a plot to get somewhere that you may not know where he's going to in the end.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I have a plot within a plot within a plot for the reason I'm voting this way, and we'll get to that in a couple of arguments. But I am going to keep it with Harley, since it's a split decision, Harley is a 2 seed, and Harley will advance. I will say, while having this discussion, mentioning Raish's name all this time, I realized, where is the drag queen named Rachel Ghoul, and why is she not on Drag Race with like a platform for destroying half of the population to save the where? Come on,
I'd like
Rachel
to get thrown
Ghoul.
in her Lazarus pit. I don't know. I'm just trying some stuff.
Resurrect her. I hardly know her. It writes itself. So. All right, we're going to move Harley into round 2, and Ra's is going back to the pits. Next, the majority of the panel thought it was no question. 1-seed Riddler must advance into round 2, but Jordan thinks that's silly putty and prefers 4-seed Clayface. Michael, riddle me this. Why is Edward Nygma the better baddie in this matchup? Jordan, get down to the dirt as you sling mud in favor of Clayface. Jordan, I'm going to have you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Riddler, a good villain. We've seen a lot of good Riddlers over the years. Frank Gorshin in the Batman 66 series, a great Riddler. I don't dislike Riddler. I just think the Joker makes him redundant. I think he is so similar, and I know they're not. One's more calculating and one's more chaos, but honestly, Joker's pretty calculating. He comes up with some very complicated plans. So, I just think he's similar to the Joker. I think that we're going to be talking about Joker later on in this tournament. So I think just for variety's sake, I think we can say goodbye to Riddler. And I think Clayface is awesome. I think he's pretty funny. And I think he's, a good example of the themes that come up in Batman stories, the masks we all wear. Sometimes we're a hero, sometimes we're a villain, sometimes we're a millionaire playboy, sometimes we're a bat. And so, yeah, I think that the fact that his power is literally changing his face, I think that's really cool. And yeah, a villain who couldn't be anyone is pretty terrifying. And the Riddler's always going to be the guy in the question mark suit. So little easier to see him coming.
That's a good point. I will ask Kevin, has he swayed you at all? Are you sticking with the Riddler here?
I am sticking with the Riddler, especially someone who can hold a city hostage for a year and isolate them from all of society.
I mean, I do that with my family every Christmas. And I will say, part of my rubric is how successful are these villains overall? Like, what impact have they made? And Riddler has had several very successful gambits. Michael Schwartz, where are you on this one? Has he changed your mind, or are you sticking with Riddler?
No, I'll save my arguments for the next round because I'm sticking with the Riddler.
Yeah, I do think from a villainy perspective, Riddler has been far more successful over the years, and that's why ultimately I am voting for him. Kevin, you were going to say something?
I was just also going to add quick. I had more fun with Clayface as a hero when he was in Detective Comics. That was more interesting to me than him as a villain. So I think that also outweighed it for me. Like, his heroics were kind of cool.
Great. So sorry about that, Jordan. Great argument for Clayface, but we will be moving Riddler into round 2. Next, the majority of the panel has no fears advancing 2-seed Scarecrow, but I'm the lone holdout who prefers 3-seed Talia al Ghul. Kevin scare us straight into pushing towards Scarecrow. I will summon the League of Assassins as I try to create chaos and move Talia into round 2. This is where my grand master plan is coming into effect, because I knew that there was no way I could get 2 al Ghuls into the Elite 8, and I want Talia. So she is one of the more complicated figures in Batman's Rogues Gallery. She first appeared in the 70s, and at first she was more of an ally to Batman. She was even canonically married to Bruce Wayne at one point. In the early 2000s, she experienced a heel turn, which is actually explained in story in a pretty brutal miniseries by Greg Rucka, and it set her firmly against Batman. Since then, she has been primarily an antagonist, joining the Secret Society of Supervillains, taking over the League of Assassins, and leading the shadowy international syndicate Leviathan. Talia was initially created by Dennis O'Neil and Dick Giordano as an homage to Bond girls, which I had never realized, but in hindsight, makes total sense with this character. So much of her character resonates with the Bond girls of that time, especially Tracy from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and so much of her core characteristics relate to massive covert organizations. It's a unique flavor, and having a smart, lethal woman who both loves and is often pitted against Batman makes for a much more interesting adversary than a crazy scientist who likes to gas people. I would argue that Talia has perpetrated some of the most cunning blows to Bruce Wayne by not only reviving and then funding the revenge plots of his dead Robin, Jason Todd, but of course in secretly giving birth to Bruce's son, Damian Wayne, now the current Robin. If you like Damian, she had his son and kept him from his father for his entire childhood. If you don't like Damian, she got deliberately knocked up, and now Bruce is on the hook for child support until Damian is 18. Alexa, please pay Kanye West Gold Digger. So with that being said, I'm going to ask, have I changed anyone's opinions? Jordan, are you sticking with Scarecrow here?
I am sticking with Scarecrow, but that was a brilliant argument. Well argued, sir. And yeah, I mean, obviously the mother of Damian, one of the coolest recent Batman characters. You got to give it up for that. But, I think there's 2 things that I'm going to be thinking of a lot in this tournament. It's who does a good job of illustrating the themes of Batman stories. Mm-hmm. Scarecrow, Fear, it's baked into the character, it's baked into the stories. Yeah. And also who has the coolest levels in the Arkham video games. Those Scarecrow Nightmare levels are so cool. He's giant, he smashes you with his hand. I don't know, that doesn't get much cooler than that. So well argued. I give you many snaps, but I'm going with Scarecrow.
I'll take the snaps even if Talia goes out. Michael, you sticking with Scarecrow?
Yeah, I think that it just such a classic villain for us that it's hard to overcome some of just the gravitas that Scarecrow holds in the Batman universe.
Okay, no problem. Kevin, sticking with Scarecrow. He's dead.
Oh, sorry. That was my fake death of Marion Cotillard. I am sticking with Scarecrow. Thank you so much.
No problem. So Scarecrow will advance into round 2. Next, it's another unanimous victory, this time for 1-seed Poison Ivy, who pruned 4-seed Mad Hatter and his Tea Party. Does anyone have any thoughts on Jervis Tetch? Again, this is another one where I feel like his best stories absolutely were from the animated series. Jordan, did you have any? I saw you come off mute. Did you want to say something about Mad Hatter?
Oh, no, not a ton to say about Mad Hatter. Just an agreement that I kind of thought he was an animated series character. I don't remember a ton of him in the comics, and yeah, I don't remember a ton of him at all. So, yeah, I mean, Poison Ivy, iconic. Come on, what are we doing?
I want to say that there was a pretty decent run with him in Greg Rucka's 90s Detective Comics that for some odd reason is sticking in my head. But the fact that I can't remember it pretty much says everything, that he's not a super memorable villain here. And frankly, the fact that Mad Hatter made it and Killer Croc didn't, Michael, to your point from earlier, is kind of nuts. So we will be moving Poison Ivy into round 2. Next, the majority of the panel is pumped up on Venom and the chances of 3-seed Bane, but Jordan wants us to cool it in favor of 2-seed Mr. Freeze. Jordan, why are you iced to see Mr. Freeze in round 2? I will get cracking on my defense of Bane. Jordan, please go first. And yes, it was a deliberately terrible joke in reference to the iconic Arnold Schwarzenegger Batman and Robin. Go ahead, Jordan.
I mean, that's, yes, nice to see you. You all need to chill out. We're all having a cool conversation.
Exactly.
The ice puns, they're iconic. Yeah, and he's a really fun villain. I like that he has his wife in a block of ice. That's great. But I think a lot of my affection for the character comes from the wackadoo Arnold version of it, which I realize is in a movie that, you know, has some things to recommend about it, but is mostly bad. So I will take my affection for the punny Arnold Mr. Freeze.
I will say that I like Mr. Freeze as a character very much. If he was up against several other people on this bracket, I would put him forward because he does have some cool things about him. Kevin, has he changed your opinions at all? Or are you sticking with Bane here?
Unfortunately, I forgot to winterize my pipes.
Well, there goes your social life, honey.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you, Eric. Unfortunately, like Mr. Freeze was up against Mad Hatter, be Mr. Freeze. If he was up against a whole bunch of these people, it would very much be that. But yeah, it's Bane for me. It makes the most sense in this battle.
Great. Michael Schwartz, where are you on this one?
I'm with Bane on this one too. I thought Mr. Freeze is a great character, but Bane's bigger impact, especially more from the movies for me, who's great in the comic books and everything, but I think that the Dark Knight series really put Bane out there for a lot of people.
I will say one other thing on Mr. Freeze before we move along. I think recently in the comics, they actually brought Nora Freeze back, and she was actually terrifying, which I think is really interesting.
Oh,
but
that's cool.
I think your point, Jordan, is great that it's a really smart idea if you're married to just have your wife frozen all the time. I think that's going to solve a lot of domestic issues. I'm just going to put that out there. Women of listening to this podcast, I'm kidding. You know that I'm 100% down with men. So Jordan, I feel bad. Most of your picks are getting knocked out. So
no, that's okay. I'm here to stick up for the Mr. Freezes and the King Tuts of the world. This is my job. It's my lot in life. I understand.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So we will be moving Bane into round 2. Next, it's another unanimous decision as 1-seed Catwoman stole all the votes away from 4-seed the Ventriloquist. I will say this about the Ventriloquist. The concept around this character is, I think, actually way cooler than anything he's ever done. And it fits nicely with Batman's overarching theme, which is let's punch the mentally ill. So I do think that Catwoman is correct in advancing into round 2. Finally, in round 1, another 3-1 split, this time in favor of 3-seed Penguin, but Jordan has a singular appreciation for 2-seed Two-Face. Jordan, make a Harvey Dent in our bracket by advocating for Two-Face. Michael, tell us why Penguin should stay safe under our umbrella, Ella A. I'm going to have Jordan go first.
I mean, I think I'm just going to go back to my theme argument. I think that, a good Batman villain isn't just an animal-themed weirdo, but rather, someone who someone who supports the story with their deal. And yes, Two-Face. We're all two people. We are all many people. We all have good and evil within us. I think these are big themes in Batman stories. And also, if we're going to argue for effectiveness, Harvey Dent, what does the Penguin do? What are his powers? Umbrella having? Penguin hypnosis? Can he control the penguins? Why do they do what he says? It's so unclear. Who is the Penguin? I like that he bit Christopher Walken's nose that one time. That was pretty gross. But yes, who is the Penguin and what does he do? I don't know.
It's a great, I will say the Danny DeVito Penguin, at the time watching it in the theaters, was horrified.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
watching it as an adult, that entire sequence where he's in the campaign office because they're trying to run the Penguin for mayor is comedy gold. And when he bites that woman's, is it a man? I think it's a man. Bites that man's nose, I howl laughing. Michael Schwartz, do you have an argument for us for the Penguin? I mean, we're talking a lot about him here.
Right. And I think that one of the things that I like about the Batman universe in general is that a lot of the actual villains are just bad people. You know, they're not, a lot of them, not every single one of them has some super special power that they got bit by a spider or drank a poison or anything like that. We have all these characters that are just regular, everyday human beings who happen to be evil and super smart. So, and I think that that's like the Penguin kind of epitomizes a lot of that. He's a crime boss. He runs a crime syndicate. He controls a good part of the underworld that exists in Gotham. He's a classic character, 1941, like really there at the beginning. 80 years later, we still talk about the Penguin. When you think about Batman, I love Two-Face, and Harvey Dent, I think, is a great character as an archetype, because literally, what is the Batman universe about other than two people being one kind of stuff? I think that's really just the big theme that goes here. And Harvey Dent really represents that as Two-Face, but the Penguin has that lasting power. 80 years later, we still think about Batman, and if you ask people to name a Batman villain, Penguin's going to be in the top 5 all the time for this kind of stuff. And you've had classic people portray him. Burgess Meredith in the Batman 66 version for us. You know, Danny DeVito. Insane. And even in the new reboot with Colin Farrell playing the Penguin, I think it just epitomizes it. He's smart. He runs an entire crime organization. And I think that has a bigger impact on the daily lives of Gotham other than what happens with Two-Face.
Great. Kevin, are you sticking with Penguin or are you switching to Two-Face here?
I am sticking to one of Gotham's former mayors, the Penguin.
All right. You did a good argument, Jordan. I do think I will stick with Penguin here specifically because of Michael mentioned the longevity, but it's not just the longevity. I would argue the Penguin is more relevant now than ever. He's about to get a spin-off series on HBO starring Colin Farrell. Like, he is, I think, possibly more popular now than he's ever been, which I think says something about a character that is, on its face, really fucking stupid. As Jordan said, he has the powers of having umbrellas. And yet here he is. So kudos to you, Penguin. You've done it again. So we were moving Penguin into round 2, and that's the end of round 1, folks. We're going to take a quick break to scrub the guano off of every single surface in the Batcave. We'll be right back after these messages.
$5 can't buy you much these days. In the 90s, a Big Mac Extra Value Meal rang in at $4.59. Today, that same meal will cost you $7.89 and leave you filled with regret. You know who would never do that to you? The Great Pop Culture Debate. For just $5 a month, our Patreon supporters gain access to a treasure trove of unaired content, like those secret fries at the bottom of the bag. So if you're hungry for some delicious pop culture content, pass on the Big Mac and head to greatpopculturedebate.com to become a Patreon supporter today. Now I'm hungry.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
And we are back for round 2 of our best Batman villain debate. Before we get into the Elite Eight, I want our panelists to share their social media accounts, what else they're working on, and also their first Bat memories. I'm going to start with Kevin. Kevin, where can people find you? What are you working on? And how did you get to know Batman?
Yep, you can still find me on the Bird app. That is Twitter. It is not called anything else. At ET Kevin's Mind. And when did I first discover Batman? I think we talked about it a little bit ago in this podcast episode. I discovered the Adam West Batman after school. It was on almost every day. And boy, did I get angry when I had to be continued. I was like, but is he going to save the Gotham? I don't know. No, I knew he was, but I really loved
Is that giant buzzsaw going to hit him?
And I also loved when Batgirl came in because I freaking love that costume and I love that bike and it's so incredible. And she was actually well done in that. And then my grandfather showed me the Michael Keaton Batman when I was 5 years old, which is way too young. And I was obsessed and I have 2 Batman tattoos on my body now. So thanks, Grandpa.
Michael, where can people find you? What else are you working on? And what's your first Bat memory?
So I'm on Instagram at Therax329. That's THERAX329 on Insta. Feel free to drop me a line as to what you think I said wrong, which is pretty much everything at this point. Not working on anything at the moment, but my first Bat, I'm an Adam West Batman as well. Kapow, pop, bang. I love the graphics of it all, the silliness of it, it was like and this is the thought that just popped in my head. It was kind of like a hyper realized James Bond. Is he going to get out of it? Oh my God. Where's the saw? Where's the laser going to hit? Kind of stuff, which were classic Bond tropes too.
Great. Thank you very much.
And Michael, we didn't need to hear the bedroom noises. The Batman noises.
Kapow. I mean, we established I'm a horror early on.
Jordan, so delighted to have you with us for this episode. Tell us, where can people find you? What else are you working on and what your first Bat memories are?
I would love it if people would check out an upcoming graphic novel that I wrote. It is called Youth Group. The art is by the great Bowen McGurty, whose work you know from a great series called Spectre Inspectors or several issues of Marvel Comics. Youth Group is the story of a bunch of goofy teenage exorcists. They're part of a kind of cringy Bible study group where they sing parody songs about abstinence, but in the evening they actually have to go out and pull demons out of people. It's a little Shaun of the Dead. It's a little Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's got some friendship. It's got some spookies. It's got a little bit of romance. Youth Group. It is coming out in July, but pre-orders are available now. You can do that at Amazon. You can do that at Barnes & Noble. Better yet, your local indie bookstore. If people want to go to bit.ly/youthgroupbook, bit.ly/youthgroupbook.
I will do that. Also, can you hook me up with some of these teenage exorcists? I do have the demons running all through my body.
They don't exist. I'm sorry.
Devil.
They're
literally
fictional.
Yeah.
They're fictional. So just give in to the demon and become evil.
Yeah.
And yes, like everybody here, I'm an Adam West stan. That was my first Batman on reruns after school. Took a big stack of Oreos on a little paper towel and watched some banging, powing, and booming. You got to love those sound effects. Yes, Batgirl, her motorcycle, very important to me as a young kid. And and then obviously the Michael Keaton movies were coming out around that time, and those were awesome.
So you can find me at Eric Resniak on Instagram, or just message at Great Pop Culture Debate on Insta and TikTok, or at GPCD on Mastodon. But what you really need to do right now is sign up for our weekly newsletter, which comes out every Monday at noon, telling you about everything new in pop culture that week. Sign up by finding the link on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or via our link tree on any of our social media accounts. For me, yes, certainly the Adam West of it, but also Super Friends, I think, was probably a big introductory to me for Batman. I'm almost positive I had Batman sheets. I'm almost positive I had Batman underoos. As an adult, I may or may not have bought adult-sized Batman underoos at a point. And then I went on to start reading the comics when Nightfall was being published. That absolutely sucked me in, and I read them for many years thereafter. But we love Batman, and this is weirdly the first DC Comics episode we have ever done of the Great Pop Culture Debate, which is shocking, but I think we will be having more in the future. So with that being said, it is time for our Patreon shout out. Thank you, Bernadette Banky, who has been a supporter since 2021. We will see you next episode, same bat time, same bat channel. Now let's move into round 2, which we will hopefully not see Harvey Dent coming back for thematically appropriate revenge. First up, it's a deeply dysfunctional lover's quarrel as the majority of the panel refers Mr. J, 1-seed the Joker, to his now ex-gal pal 2-seed Harley Quinn. But Jordan is standing up on Harley's behalf. Jordan, tell us why we should ride this Harley into the Final Four. Kevin, explain why the Joker missing the Final Four would be a bad punchline, and I don't mean his current girlfriend. Jordan, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I mean, I think as we've established on this episode, I love a doomed argument. I love an argument that I know I cannot win going into it. So I just want to stick up for what a cool character Harley is. And I think that, like, in Batman's history, obviously, the Joker is almost as iconic a character as Batman. But I think the fact that, like, if you talk to younger comic book fans and younger Batman fans, I think Harley is up there with the Joker as being a character you associate with Batman. Maybe even just on her own. There's been so many solo Harley adventures that don't really have a lot to do with Batman. And maybe that's a reason why she shouldn't win. But I think I don't know. I think it's just worth talking about what a cool character she is one more time. And yeah, she's great. And yeah, looking forward to more Harleys to come. I love her in all her forms.
That's such a great point. And when you think about it, Harley was introduced originally in the animated series in the early 90s. So she's been around for about 30 years at this point. I can think of at least 3, if not more, iconic Harley designs in that time, each one of them very visually strong and adopted by mainstream culture, with a level of flexibility few superheroes can enjoy. That's actually pretty remarkable for a character, I think. But I want to throw it to Kevin for your argument on the Joker. Kevin, what do you got?
Like the Joker and Elon Musk, they've been using Brand X. And so, no, I think, like I said in round 1, I did not vote for Harley. I think of Harley as almost more of a DC Universe villain at this point, especially being part of the Suicide Squad and being canonically like this anti-hero that kind of spans more than the Bat Universe and is honestly to that point become so much bigger. And I guess you could kind of make that argument for the Joker, but the Joker essentially feels like Batman's tether. He is the anti-Batman. They essentially always get to this place where there are butting up against one another and they can't. I wish I knew how to quit you, essentially, is their theme song to these two. And, I think, the Joker is such an easy answer, right? There have been multiple iterations of him in many forms. At one point, there were 3 Jokers that existed within the comic books. The Joker was almost becoming too much and oversaturated within the comics market, within the multimedia market. I guess you could make the same argument for Harley, though, too. They are these canonically very interesting villains in Batman's world. And I think the thing that distinguishes the Joker from Harley for me is he's the first. And I hate that as an argument, but he's the long-running, long-standing antithesis to Batman and will always be that. Whereas Harley stands singularly on her own in her own world. And so Joker is ultimately tethered to Batman as a villain.
I'll do a little bit of a throwback here, but I think it's bold of you to make a Brokeback Mountain joke on a Batman episode. Bane is right here. Thank you.
Listen, I had to.
It was brave and bold.
It was brave and bold, also on a Batman episode. Michael Schwartz, where are you on this one? Is it Joker or is it Harley?
I think that Harley gets a lot of attention for a recency bias, having been in the mainstream with Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey, everything for everybody recently. But when it comes down to it, it's the Joker. And I just like Cesar Romero as the Joker in Batman 66. I mean, that is just so perfectly classic. And
But
like, I
had the
can't imagine a
mustache
world.
under
The
the
mustache
paint. You could
white
see the
painted
mustache
Yes,
under
absolutely.
the paint.
No, I get that. So I understand that, and I don't think we could have a world with Batman in it if there wasn't a Joker there.
So I'll tip my hand right now. I don't want the Joker to win this whole thing because it's so obvious, but I do think he deserves to at least make the final four. And so for that reason, I'm voting for it. I will also agree with the argument. Harley has outgrown Batman. I'm not even sure Harley is a villain anymore. Harley is more of an anti-hero. Harley is the Deadpool of the DC universe at this point. So with that being said, we are going to move Joker into the final four. Next, I believe the panel may be unanimous in its final answer in favor of 1-seed Riddler over 2-seed Scarecrow. But does anyone want to say, hey girl, hey, in defense of Scarecrow? Anyone voting for it? Kevin, you sticking with Riddler?
I would be begrudged to not mention, though, The Long Halloween, which is one of the most popular comic book novels of all time that we haven't brought up. And that really is what brought the Scarecrow out to the forefront. And he is the embodiment of what Batman is about, fear. But in my mind, and I may push this, I think the Riddler is tactically more scary than the Joker. So I may be swinging my vote to the Riddler in that final four if he moves forward.
All right, we'll see. Michael, you sticking with the Riddler here, or are you going to go with Scarecrow?
No, I mean, I've got my arguments all down for the Riddler, so I'm going to keep going with that and ride that horse till the end.
Jordan, you actually think you had someone else in this matchup originally. Riddler or Scarecrow here?
Yeah, I mean, Riddler, I understand why the Riddler's moving on. I think it's a good call. Obviously a great character, but oh boy, his levels in the Arkham games are so annoying. They're like puzzles. Who wants to do a puzzle in those games? You want to bite? I don't know. You want to fly around? You do? Okay. Maybe there's one
weird.
puzzle fan on the panel, but yeah, come on. I know those puzzle levels always grind the game to a stop, if you ask me.
That's all right. So just for reference, you would have voted for Scarecrow here.
God, you know, it's so funny. I think I vote for Riddler in this situation too. Even though I was trying to take him out early, I think up against Scarecrow, he's the better villain.
All right, so I will make it unanimous, and Riddler will continue to the final four. Next, the panel is evenly split between 1-seed Poison Ivy and 3-seed Bane. Kevin, grant a boon to Bane's chances of making it into the final four. Michael, use some Miracle Grow on your argument so that Poison Ivy blossoms into the final four. I'm going to have Michael go first here.
So again, Poison Ivy at this point, you know, she's still a classic character from the comic books from the 60s kind of stuff as they continued to expand the Batman universe for us. Dr. Isley gets poisoned. And this is one of the few like really popular characters that eventually ends up as a metahuman with some additional being able to control everything. I think that when it comes down to it personality-wise, Poison Ivy is subtly over the top in a lot of ways for us. And she cuts a really good swath of who she is and how she has a personality across the comic books, across the films, the classic Uma Thurman Poison Ivy for us. I let's have a reaction to her. Yes, I like Bane because everybody thinks he's hot in the Dark Knight series when Tom Hardy is playing him, because I think everybody would see Tom Hardy in practically anything. But I have a guttural reaction, a visceral reaction to this. And I think that I just always am drawn more towards Poison Ivy versus Bane in this case, in terms of having more elaborate plans and just really living on that relationship that she has in her mind with Batman.
And the thing that's interesting about Poison Ivy, you mentioned this about the Penguin earlier. Poison Ivy is also probably currently at her peak popularity outside of just even the comic books. Mm-hmm. Her relationship with Harley is, I think, a big part of it because the two of them are canonically in a relationship. But also she's got her own ongoing series now in the DC Comics. She's very popular from that perspective. And I say to her the same thing I say about Magneto. Magneto has a lot of good points. Poison Ivy has a lot of good points. Basically, she's an eco-terrorist in a time, and we could probably use some eco-terrorists.
Absolutely.
Please don't arrest me, FBI. But I want to throw it to Kevin to talk about Bane. Why should Bane advance here?
He literally broke Batman both physically and mentally in a way that no villain ever has. I get it. My name for this is not a visual medium right now, but my name on here is Don't Mess with Mother Nature, because Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy from then on actually, I think, shifted the zeitgeist in the positive momentum for girls to become obsessed with her character and to move it forward in the comic books and to make it a more interesting character. With that said, if we can't have Ra's al Ghul moving forward, we need to have Bane in the final four, because Bane is essentially, and Ra's al Ghul's own words, one of the other few people to mentally and tactically be able to defeat Batman and be successful at it. Outside of the humorous interpretation in the Harley Quinn cartoon, which is one of the funniest things I've ever seen, Bane's really never been done right in comic book movies. And I know some would argue that he's done as closely as he can be done in The Dark Knight Rises, but that's not even close to what Bane is. And you don't get into the interesting aspects of him as a villain with the Venom or any of those aspects which make him as strong as he actually is. And again, he literally broke his back, and it is a wrap there, in my opinion.
Jordan, where are you on this one? Is it Poison Ivy or is it Bane?
It's Poison Ivy for me all the way. It's pretty easy for me, and I have a kind of a fussy reason why. Now, I also love the Bane in the Harley Quinn TV series. It's great. James Adomian doing his voice, doing a hilarious job. You know who else I like hearing do the Bane voice? No one. It was the most overused impression. It was Borat there for a while. You have to admit, every dude would just get drunk and it's like it was my wife. It was, do I make you horny, baby? I just got so tired of the impression. A testament to the great James Adomian, how funny that Bane is on that show to make me like it. But I got baned out. I got baned out in whatever summer that was. And I don't know. It's Ivy for me all the way. She's an icon.
It's been far too long since I've been baned out properly. But that being said, we're split 2-2. I'm definitely still on Team Bane with Kevin here, but Poison Ivy's a 1 seed and Bane is a 3 seed. Which
Insane.
Seed, much like the Arkham Asylum.
Ivy, that's a fun connection, huh? Because she's
there you go. Yeah.
Lady.
So she will be flowering in our final four. And finally, in round 2, it's a Batman Returns reunion as we are evenly split again, this time between 1 seed Catwoman and 3 seed Penguin. Jordan, spend at least one of Selina Kyle's 9 lives as you push her into the final 4. I will warm up the Iceberg Lounge in my defense of the Penguin. I'll go ahead and go first. What appeals to me most about the Penguin is how malleable he is as a character. He has changed with the times. Penguin first appeared in 1941, created like Batman himself by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. In the nearly 100 years since, he has gone from a golden age petty criminal with a flair for trick umbrellas to a colorful crime boss in the Silver Age, to the grotesque Burton iteration in the 80s, to the animated series Bird-obsessed mobster, to the contemporary iteration featured in the current Batman films and the solo spin-off series debuting this year, which we mentioned before, starring Colin Farrell. Penguin is unique in Batman's rogues gallery in that he is unquestionably a bad guy. He is a mobster. He is not morally complicated. He has absolutely no powers, no enhancements, and he's sane. He's just a greedy, unscrupulous guy with some physical abnormalities. In that way, he's more like a Dick Tracy villain than a Batman one, but it works. Of all the crime boss archetypes in Batman's world, and there are a lot of them, I think the Penguin probably has the most success running large-scale operations for many years, and no one's touching him. My main argument here is that while Catwoman is a Final Four Batman character, I don't consider her a villain at this point. I'm not sure she ever really was. But Penguin, undoubtedly a bad guy. Jordan, talk to us about Catwoman.
Boy, I think if this is me making this list, I think Catwoman wins it. I'm just gonna list some reasons. Is there a hotter will they won't they in fiction? I don't think so. And adding a little bit of hotness to Batman is something Batman needs. It can get a little incel-y. So I think having a sexy, romantic, deep, interesting, romantic relationship that carries over, basically for the entire history, I think is so cool. There's been so many great Catwomen. Have you seen that video of Michelle Pfeiffer whipping off all the mannequin heads in one take? It's the best thing to ever be on the internet. It's a behind the scenes thing from Returns. She does it in one take. She can use the whip. Oh my God. Yes, there's been so many great Catwoman stories recently. Catwoman Lonely City, I believe, is who was the artist? It's an artist and writer. I'm going to forget the guy's name. It's great. It's kind of an old lady Catwoman story where she comes back to Gotham, assembles a team, and pulls out a really crazy heist. Teenie Howard is writing Catwoman right now, and it is as good as it's ever been. I don't know, Catwoman, she's the best, but I'm a cat weirdo. I have a little cat named Bug, and I kiss her tummy every night. Okay, end of argument.
I love it. Michael, where are you?
I'm kind of torn between these two characters for us. Penguin, I argued for in the last round and everything. But when you think of Catwoman, I mean, honestly, what is better off than the completely, utterly statuesque
She's not
Julie
a villain. She's not a villain.
Okay,
She's not a villain.
You can sit your mouth shut for a second, Kevin.
Perfect.
I think that, like, just representing some of the people that have played Catwoman over, not just Michelle Pfeiffer, but iconically Julie Newmar and Eartha Kitt in the Batman 66 seasons for us. That being said, I do have to go with Penguin here because he is ultimately, I think, just critical. Like you said, and some of the arguments I made the first round for us is that he's just a good crime boss. He runs an entire organization like that.
All right, Kevin, I'm going to guess based on your thoughts that you're going with Penguin here.
That's correct.
Yeah. I love Catwoman. Again, if it was a Batman character, I'd give it to Catwoman. No question. And she's definitely the best love interest Batman's ever had. But for villains, I have to give it to Penguin. So with that being said, we have our final four. We're going to take a quick break to vote Oswald Cobblepot for mayor. He seems like a nice guy. Make Gotham great again. We'll be right back. These days, there's so much great TV. Sometimes you just don't have the time to tune in, but you're still itching to know what happened. Or maybe you watched the episode and just want to yell into the void and see if others agree. Well, if you aren't reading our episode recaps, you're only getting 3/4 of the story. The Great Pop Culture Debate publishes weekly recaps of some of your favorite television franchises, so you can stay up to date without even watching. Head over to greatpopculturedebate.com and make sure you never miss a moment. And we are back with the final four of our best Batman villain debate. At this point in the show, I always like to take a step back and see if we end up where I thought we would be. We have 3 1 seeds and a 3 seed. The 3 seed being Penguin, which we were saying on the break, some people thought that was too low. I think Poison Ivy being a 1 seed is kind of bonkers. That's just me, just putting it out there. I do think that either Bane or Ra's al Ghul, as Kevin mentioned, we are lacking a mastermind, like kind of a figure here. But I guess Riddler kind of fits that. So we're going to jump in here. We're going to go around the horn. I just want people's votes. It is 1 seed Joker versus 1 seed Riddler. I want to start with you, Kevin. Where are you going?
This is tough because I think that there are valid arguments for the Joker and the Riddler. I think, Jordan, you made a really good argument early on where you said they have similar kind of operating systems, right? They're sociopaths. They're psychotic. They have these kind of jovial approaches in some ways. Maniacal, I guess, is the better word, or framing, and how they both approach this. Joker does things and his villainy is just like, I'm going to do this and I don't give a shit. Where the Riddler's kind of the opposite, where he's like, I care. I want Batman to fail. I want him to die. I also think the Riddler would kill Batman if he had the chance. I think he claimed to kill him at one point, which was debunked, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to go Riddler. I do actually think the Riddler is a great answer to this question.
Great. Jordan, Joker versus Riddler, where are you on this one?
Okay, it's Joker. It was always going to be Joker. And I think a lot of what we've talked about has convinced me that he's the pick. Joker and Batman, they're so linked. You don't have one without the other. And yeah, I think we want somebody who's a pure villain. And I guess we've seen Jokers who have been a little more gray area over the years, but he always goes back to evil. He is evil. He is chaos. And yes, is he a little overexposed? Is he a little too associated with, guys who smoke clove cigarettes and airbrush their vans? Yeah, I guess.
That is a very specific read, the clove cigarettes and the airbrush van, and it is so accurate, and I live for it. So thank you. That was dead on. Michael Schwartz, Joker versus Riddler. Who are you going with?
In this case, I'm going to stick with my original vote, and I'm going to stick with the Joker. And I think it brings up a point that Kevin was making, is that, yes, the Riddler would, if given the chance, actually kill Batman. The Joker would not know how to live in a world without the Batman.
It's such an interesting idea that, like, what would the Joker do if Batman was actually dead? I think there's actually a really interesting... Have they ever told that story? I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
which is
he just opens up a little bed and breakfast.
Yeah, he just settles down. He starts making little, omelet tarts. I love that. As much as I don't want to vote for the Joker for it, like the obviousness of it, I think the Riddler's a great villain. I think he's been done multiple great ways. I thought that the Paul Dano Riddler in the Batman movie was terrifying in a way I'd never been scared of a Riddler before. I think that he's actually gotten better in the comics in the past decade or so, where they're really like, no, this is a brilliant person. He took on the Mockingbird identity. He's doing a lot of things behind the scenes that I really enjoy. But Joker, I like the idea that Batman is defined by the Joker as much as the Joker is defined by Batman. I think that's very interesting. So I'm also going to give it to the Joker here. Sorry, Kevin. It's Poison Ivy versus Penguin. I'm going to start the back of the pack with Michael. Poison Ivy or Penguin?
Oh God, I hate it. It's really going to be the Penguin for me. Poison Ivy's a great character for us, but in this case, and I was happy to see her make the final four. But this one is going to be the Penguin.
Great. Jordan, where are you on this one? It's Penguin versus Poison Ivy.
Yeah, I think I am obviously more of a Poison Ivy fan. I like her more as a character. Again, I think it's worth saying a bunch. Her and Harley relationship goals. Come on, is there? I love it that it went from fanfic ship to actual canon. It's great. But I think we've kind of established the parameters here, and I think if we are all gonna agree that the winner has to be a Batman villain who is evil and effective, probably Penguin. As much as I don't want to say that umbrella ownership is a power, I guess in this case it kind of is. So yeah, I think given the rules of the game, probably Penguin.
What amendment is the right to own umbrellas? That's my question.
You'll take my umbrella when you pry it from my cold, dead flipper hands.
It's the 69th
Charlton
Amendment.
Heston. Thank you very much. Kevin,
Nice.
where are you on this one? Poison Ivy or Penguin?
The Penguin represents the crime syndicate that we've kind of not necessarily talked about in the villainy as much. So like the Falcone and the different crime bosses. And so the Penguin in a way really largely represents that aspect, and that aspect created Batman. And so what better person to do in the final two than the Penguin?
Great point. All right. So I will give it a clean sweep. Poison Ivy's a great character. I love that she's having her moment right now. And again, I think that she has a lot of really good points. But I think Penguin is the better Batman villain, which gives us a final two of the Joker versus the Penguin, a 1 seed versus a 3 seed. I'm going to start right in the middle. Jordan, our special guest, who are you voting for here?
Yeah, I think it's the Joker. I think if Penguin wins this, it's just because of some hot take contrarianism. It's a Hydrox are better than Oreos take. It's a Mr. Pibb is better than Dr. Pepper take. Yeah, it's the Joker. This was his to lose, and yeah.
All right, Michael Schwartz. Is it the Joker or is it the Penguin?
It's insanity versus sanity here in the end for our two pieces here. And I don't think that there's anything that describes the Batman universe more than the insanity that the Joker represents. That poster child, that epitome, that archetype of what is ultimately wrong with Gotham.
This man had his face cut off and then he stapled it back on and wore it for like months. Kevin, where are you on this one?
The question whenever they start a new Batman series is who's going to play the Joker? Every time. Every time. There are two men that have won Academy Awards for playing this person. That's insane. There is no other. I'm trying to think of other people who have, like, Queen Elizabeth has like two people winning Oscars playing her. Like,
it should be 3. Leto was robbed. Sorry. You're making a point.
That is a hot take. Ooh, I was going to say, let's not hold Jared Leto against him. But I mean, then you have Barry. Let me tell you, after Saltburn, let me tell you, Warner Brothers is absolutely going to have Barry Keoghan for front and center playing the Joker in one of these upcoming Batman movies. It is. And then we have the other movie. The Joker movie made over $1 billion globally, and it's not a good movie. Sorry. But anyways, it's the Joker. It's the Joker. It is.
We haven't even talked about Jack Nicholson as
We
the
haven't,
Joker.
which
We
is
did
wild.
not. Wow, that's insane.
Wild.
Well, there
We
you
talked
go.
about
Take it
Caesar-
on. Take it on.
Right. Caesar Romero, obviously. We haven't talked about Mark Hamill voicing the Joker for years in the animated series.
Oh my God.
There's so many iconic performances for him, but to get to the character again, I do think that there is something. I mean, he's been there since the beginning. The primacy argument is not why I'm voting for it here, but I do think, as Jordan pointed out, I was let out for a second. As Jordan pointed out to us previously, there are times where it gets too much. There are times where it's Joker overdose. That absolutely has happened, and there have been times in the comics where I just roll my eyes. I'm like, Jesus, again with this, but there are also those amazing stories that keep us coming back and keep hooking us and being like, you know what? Actually, this character is very interesting. That Three Jokers thing that you talked about, Kevin, is a really interesting concept. Did they do anything with it? No. But there is fertile soil in this agent of chaos who is diametrically opposed to this man who is trying, I mean, really, it's capitalism and, social structure trying to press down. And then here's just chaos and ugliness and nihilism bubbling up from the bottom. And that's really the core of Batman for me. So I do think that we have a unanimous decision, folks. Our pick for the best Batman villain is the Joker. Do you agree? Do you think that this whole debate was a bad joke? Tell us how you really feel by leaving a comment on this episode at greatpopculturedebate.com or find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or Mastodon. While you're there, make sure you subscribe and follow the podcast so you can hear about what new debates are coming soon, vote in open polls, and even decide which topics we tackle next. I want to say thank you to my panel. I appreciate you all answering this bat signal, and thank you for listening. If you loved what you heard, please consider supporting us on Patreon, where you can get even more exclusive content and you get episodes a whole day early. We hope you have a good one, and remember, everyone is entitled to their wrong opinions. This podcast needs an enema.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.